Ganga, we just finished Sri Gaurarati and listening to your prayer. I would like to welcome you all, as well as our special guest speaker today, His Holiness Bhaktimarga Swami. And of course, most of us know about His Holiness Bhaktimarga Swami. There could be maybe one or two who are joining us on Facebook. They might not have had opportunity to know about him. I'm going to request Yashika to introduce the Maharaj to everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I would like to welcome everyone once again to our Sunday Feast program. Today, we're very fortunate to have the association of His Holiness Bhaktimarga Swami Maharaj, who is also very popularly known as the Walking Monk. While he was studying fine arts in college, he had his first encounter with devotees and was initiated by Srila Prabhupada in 1973. Maharaj has produced many theatrical productions such as The Boatman, Age of Kali, and many more that were presented around the world. Personally, as a child, I was always wait for his plays whenever I'd go to Rath Yatras in Montreal or Toronto. As I said before, he's known to be the walking monk. In 1996, he started his first walk across Canada as an offering to Srila Prabhupada to honor his first centennial year. And since then, Maharaj has accomplished a remarkable feat of walking across Canada 3 times while bringing a lot of awareness for Krishna consciousness to many individuals across his journey through interviews and programs. Currently, Maharaj serves as the GBC for Canada and Miami. So once again, I'd like to welcome Bhaktimarga Swami Maharaj and hand it over to him. Hare Krishna.
And I just want to say, just to get the information right, 4 times I walked across Canada, and once the US and a few other countries. And what else was in there? Yeah, I no longer have responsibilities in Miami, but I do for Cuba. And that has changed now. We're actually looking after Alaska and Montana, the 2 Dakotas, Wyoming, and Minnesota. And those are like all northern US states. And Krishna's blessed us with that. We call this the North Zone in North America. So it's such a blessing. Thank you so much for that nice introduction. And it is a special time of the year, as you all know. I'll just open up with a simple invocation. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanam Jana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militamina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminita Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deshatarine. Thank you very much, Prabhus, for welcoming me on board. It is a very special time, and we have like a blue moon out there in the sky, and rarely does it fall on the 31st. It was Halloween yesterday. Today makes it All Souls Day. In some traditions, pre-Christian era, people worshiped their ancestors, or they had a day for remembering their forefathers and foremothers. Don't get it wrong. Nobody has forefathers and nobody has foremothers, okay? It's just we're talking about ancestral power. And so it's an honorable thing. In India, they have Shraddh. So to remember the people that, were somewhat responsible for you, bringing you karmically into this world. So, so that's what Halloween's supposed to represent, and it's turned into something quite weird, to be honest with you. Last night I was walking on Avenue Road, and it was after doing a house program for about 45 minutes, and I was in my dhoti and everything, and 5 tall adolescents, they were all with masks. They saw me, said, "Oh, like, you're really yellow," Thought I was playing Halloween or something like that. But for us, this is the first day of Kartik, and we are remembering Krishna as a child. So we'd like to highlight that. First of all, I'd like to deliver to you my favorite translation of the Sri Damodarastakam, the story of the pastime of Krishna as a child. Okay, I'll read that. It won't take too long, and then we'll talk. Everybody's on board? I hope so. Yay. Here we go. After you steal butter, your earrings dance and shine. As you flee your mother in Gokula past time. Though you are all blissful, all-knowing, ever new, greatest of controllers, your mother controls you. She shows you the stick and she binds you by the waist. You shudder and sob, and your necklace of pearls shakes. As you rub your frightened eyes, tears roll down your face. Ropes of her love bind you in your mother's embrace. Relishing your childhood activities like this, you plunge your devotees in deep oceans of bliss. Though many revere you, by love you are subdued. Again and again, Lord, I bow down before you. Although you give freedom, I don't ask to be free, nor do I want anything you could offer me. I only request that your sweet childhood pastime may ever be enacted in my heart and my mind. Curly hair encircles your face of blackish blue. Kisses make your cheeks look like red bimba fruit. May this sublime vision be all that I can see. Any other treasure, has no value to me. Damodar, O Vishnu, O Lord beyond compare, be pleased with the soul sunk in oceans of despair. Uplift and protect me with glances from your eyes. Shower your compassion like rainfall from the skies. Two sons of Kuvera were cursed to stand as trees. You gave them the chance to become your devotees. My Lord, will you offer the same blessing to me? I don't want to merge with your identity. Although in your belly the universe is found, your mother's effulgent robe has your belly bound. I bow to that robe and to Radha, your most dear, and those sublime pastimes in which you appear. So, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So this time of the year, we are compelled to think about God as a child. And it's a good meditation because we then get a chance to see the full dimension of the absolute. The absolute cannot be, or well, some people attempt to paint God as a flat surface. There is not much depth to the personality of Godhead. In fact, some people will say there is no personality. There is no face. There are no eyes. God cannot smell. God cannot hear, nor walk around or dance, etc., etc. One time Nietzsche, the famous philosopher, said, if there's going to be a God, then he better dance. And he was an existentialist, not necessarily believing God. He was the guy who famously said, it's not that God created man, it's that man created God. Anyways, if you look into his lifestyle, Nietzsche, I don't think he had it too good. It was those people who don't believe in a full dimensional God have a real hard time with life. That's kind of pretty much the way it is. So fortunately for us, by Prabhupada's mercy, we are, as I said, compelled to see God in multi-dimensional aspects. And one of them is that he becomes as a baby. So Janmashtami is a time when we are remembering God who comes to this world as a child. His birth is celebrated And the day after Nandotsava, it's the day to honor Nanda, who gives lots in charity to honor God as a child. So anyways, how can God have a parent or two parents? In the case of Krishna, it's at least two couples, Yashoda and Nanda, and then there's Vasudeva and Devaki, who appear to be Krishna's biological parents, but in fact they are not. Even the conceiving of Krishna went through by the method of dhyana yoga, meditational yoga. Vasudeva was simply thinking about the absolute Vishnu as he wanted Vishnu in his life. So he had those thoughts. He transmitted those thoughts from his mind to the mind of his wife, Devaki. And in this way, she got impregnated. And then finally, the result of this was Krishna being present in this world and carrying on. When I say carrying on, we mean to say that as a child, Krishna did have some interesting activities going on. He had a good appetite, especially an appetite for makhan, which is a form of yogurt, butter, and Krishna relished it. And he would go into the nighttime to the neighbors and steal his butter, so that he didn't really steal, because all the butter belongs to him. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, that means everything, all the properties, everything belongs to the Absolute. So why does God want to come to participate in this world when he's having a great time in his own abode? Well, as it is stated in the Gita, yada yada dharmasya glamir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srajam yam. Krishna comes to this world to address a problem. And the problem is us people here. We make so many errors, we make a mess of the place. And when the mess gets very intense, then the Lord decides, I think I've got to now come and do something about this. There's too much pain that people are going through, especially my devotees. They're going through an agonizing experience. Therefore, I am somewhat pressurized out of love to go and protect my protection to these wonderful Vaishnavas who are calling on my name to help me out of their perils and out of their frustrations. Few people qualify as being parents of God. You have to be very exceptional. You would have had to perform tapasya, lots of austerities, and you would have had to have a desire to have God as your child. So in the case of Vasudeva and Devaki, that's true. Yashoda Mai and Nanda Maharaj, same thing. In their previous existence, they wanted to have not just a godly child, but God himself. That might sound kind of selfish, but we can appreciate that it's better to be in the position where you can serve God instead of making demands from God. So how do you get to serve God as a child? Well, anybody who's done some parenting, they know when a baby is new, there's a mouth and it goes, rah, and it has to be addressed. And also the mouth is a very dominant feature of a child. And at the other end of the body, there's another one of the 9 gates that requires some attention as well by the parents. And in recent times, diaper changing stations have been installed in public washrooms to address those concerns. So you cannot ignore that. You cannot ignore the needs of the child. And so it puts us into a position where we are forced to be servants, to act as servants. What got us there, it was our desire. We want to be served. It was some form of lust. lust, but that lust brought out of the situation, that emotion or that feeling was an opportunity to serve, and that's how we have to do it. Everything should come to that particular siddhanta, that conclusion, service for others. I remember going back a few years ago, I was in Dallas. We attended one of our meetings there for North American leaders. And during break time, you just go a few blocks, I don't know if it's north or south or east or west. There's the old railway stations, train tracks. And it was converted into a nice walkway for, well, walkers, runners, and cyclists. And it will take you right into the downtown. Well, I went the other direction. I don't go for downtowns too much. I want to see what's going on the other end. So while there, a fellow pulled over a cyclist. I go to Kalachandji's all the time, you know, the restaurant the devotees have there. I love it. And we got to talking, and he told me he was a social worker. He helps people, the homeless and others. And I said, oh yeah, by the way, yesterday, when I was walking down this trail, I saw some tents, like a little mini version of a tent city. And there was a guy there, he has a frying pan for fish and everything. He's all set up to take care of himself. And my friend that I just met said, yeah, most of these people are a little bit, imbalanced in their lives. And then we both stood there. We reflected a little bit on this important dilemma about a good sector of society has this challenge where they just don't have a home, they don't have loved ones. So then we got to thinking, well, why is this occurring? And our conclusion, like a light bulb, it hit us both at the same time. Our conclusion was, oh, it gives us an opportunity to serve mankind or humankind. So we thought we were proud of ourselves, almost patted each other on the back. And those are, pre-COVID days, so you could actually touch people. And we just, yeah, this is it. This is the ultimate conclusion, a chance to serve. So parents are in that bright spot to do that, And some parents are really keen to have lots of children. And like when I was in my third walk across Canada, it was in Northern Ontario, close to the Quebec border. And I guess I was 17, somewhere in there, or 11. And one woman pulled over and said, I heard what you're doing. I think it's great. And I said, why are you doing it? I said, well, I'm walking to promote, going back to basics again, family values and all that stuff. So, oh, I know. I come from a family of, there's 21 of us. We all came from the same, family, parents, same parents, not different people, but mom and dad, and there were 21 of us. I said, well, that's doing very good. That's amazing how they were able to manage it themselves. So she was French Canadian. I said, oh yeah, sort of that's the old Catholic way of doing things. So the benefit that comes from having several children is that the children look after each other. They serve each other. They learn to share. Sometimes they bully each other, and I don't like that term bullying because bulls are nice. But sometimes they get aggressive with each other, and that's not so nice, but it is part of life. It's part of life. Learning defensiveness and learning to protect yourself, or just, we do have a tendency to lord it over nature. And, we are all supposed to be lording in some way. We're supposed to be, let's say, taking charge of, if you don't want to be pushed around, then be in charge of something and, to go for self-sustenance, self-reliance, So some are other children who get a little bit aggressive. They're in a way priming themselves up for tackling big challenges that will be presented before them. So anyways, Krishna comes as a child so that we can get a chance to serve him more. If the flip side, if we say, well, I'd rather be the child and then let God will have to do everything for me. That is a little more self-centered, and we don't really want to go down that channel. It's better the reverse, you know. Let me serve God as a child, my baby. And of course, Yashoda Priya was one who was under some kind of Yogamaya influence. She couldn't see that Krishna was anything other than her child. But there were moments where she, you could say, it was snapped into reality and understood, oh, this is not really my son. This is God, and I'm God's daughter. You know? So that was her sort of, you can say, her mindset for a time. But Krishna soon dissolved that and allowed her to go back to let's say, to be moved by love. Moved by love. M-O-V-E by L-O-V-E. You know, moved by love. And this is what is behind the essence of bhakti, is to move by love. Now, in the initial stages of Bhakti Yoga, we do everything because it's curious, it's very novel, and everything's very exciting. I remember the first year I joined, wow, what's all these big brass plates, and what's all this food here? Lots of smoke, incense, and there's like a fire ceremony. Are they going to put anybody into that fire? Is it going to be that kind of? And I wasn't quite sure where devotees were coming from sometimes. But quickly was attracted to every aspect of Krishna consciousness. And that was, it was a big draw for me, the rituals. And it is all very exciting. Then after a while, you get into what we call sadhana, and sadhana might turn into a dull routine. Dare you, go there, but basically we should attempt to make good and be very attentive to our sadhana approaches in life. And attentiveness is the big one. The sadhana involves shravanam and kirtanam to Vishnu, Krishna, hearing and chanting about Vishnu and for the Lord Krishna, the two-armed form. And but after a while, we might lose it tends to lose luster. So therefore, you really have to endeavor very hard at that particular point in time to really get a handle on the hearing and the chanting and to appreciate it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells us himself that I have no taste for the holy name. So when we read that or hear that translation, we feel, go, oh God, it's just not me alone. Even God himself has a tough time with, having, a total focus and fixation on God in the form of sound. Yeah. So that's a big part of our sadhana, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam. Remembering the Lord's, when Padaseva was serving the Lord at his lotus feet, and so on like that. Excuse me for the yawn. There are 9 processes of devotional service. And when we kind of don't approach those practices in the proper manner with all humility, then it will turn out to be quite very monotonous and also coming across as, without juice. So those are kind of serious times. And we wish not to fall into that kind of hole where everything becomes dry routine, but actually we're looking for freshness always. Those days in the summer where it's just groggy and it's hot and it's, you almost feel like you can't breathe. And then there's a fresh breeze that does come in the night. So, this is so perfect. So it's a little bit like that. We have to approach our sadhana with a freshness every day. And while we're talking about freshness, in the Brahma Samhita, the Lord himself, or Brahma himself, who's God's representative, talks about Krishna's freshness. This Advaitam Achutam Anadin Anandarupam. And this verse from the Brahma Samhita, Brahma himself was saying that, declaring that the Lord is ever fresh, Nava Yovanam, always reappearing like a fresh youth. And, this is one of the features of Krishna that makes him all attractive. Now, Krishna is a toddler, and we love his, little Leela, where he's doing a little bit of mischievous things and getting around to neighbors' houses and helping himself to the makan and bringing, not only that, bringing in his friends. And the monkeys get a chance to have a crack at it also. This is what Krishna does. He gets people involved, even if for some moment there's this, let's say, frustration that is felt by the gopis and in particular Yashoda and the other neighboring ladies of the cowherd community. They get kind of irritated by Krishna, but in the course of it all, they says, "Hey, actually, such a sweet little guy. I know he gets us all riled up, and we don't like that, but he does it nevertheless." And then we're just thinking about him. Can't get him out of our heads. He's just a cute person. He's a charmer. Later on, his cuteness transforms into charmer. During the time of the Rasa dance, Krishna was extremely charming, and he was very charismatic, still is to this day. And that's the way he always will be. Isn't that a good way to look at God? God being the all-attractive one. After all, his name is Krishna, which means all-attractive. And this month, we get to remember Krishna as a child who makes a runaway and tries to get away, but his mother steps in. First of all, he's intimidated by her. She comes in an angry mood. She's coming and she's working, but she has a stick. She shows the stick. Doesn't mean she's lowers it on him, but she's just trying to threaten him and just give him a warning, really. But seriously, she wants to catch him and she wants to teach him a lesson. And that if you're naughty, we'll tie some knot. We'll tie some knot and get you in there and tie you up by a rope, and then you will not have the freedom that you want. Kind of like a short leash for a dog. Dog owners have long leashes, sometimes short ones. It depends on what kind of a dog he is. If he's the one that likes to attack everybody, I hope it's a short leash. So Krishna gets away with more mischief, and he brings down a couple of big Yamalarjun trees. When I walked in Mauritius, there was a tree that the wind took down, and it was a Yamalarjun tree. And it was right across the highway. So we had to sort of like climb over it and get around it, leave our straight line dynamic and just climb over it, or like I said, circumvent it in a certain way. And so this is what transpires in the Krishna Leela, where he gets into a kind of trouble. And after getting into trouble, he gets caught. And Mother Yashoda, by the way, did catch him through love, not by running fast, because Krishna outran his mom. But it is out of love that Krishna gets to be known and gets to be understood. Bhaktiamam avijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvatah. From the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna declares it's by devotional service that I can be known, that I can be understood, that I can be captured. That is the rope. The bhakti is the rope. And everybody, we all missed throughout the Yatra this year. It's a rope festival, you could say. It's a festival of ropes. And the rope has a lot of meaning for us. It's the rope of love that helps pull Jagannath down the street. One day I got to see one of our actor friends from New York came over and he said, Bhaktimarga, we're going to have to go. We should go and see this Hitchcock film. And I said, okay, great, as long as it's clean. So right off the bat, these two colleagues, freshmen from university, they strangled their friend, their classmate, and to the death. Put him in a box. And this is, the story is aligned with it's something that really happened in the Chicago area, and the what do you call it? Those little cassettes that used to get was picked up by my devotee Daruka. Actually, we saw it at Paramahansa's home, and it's a story called Rope, very appropriately. And these two boys, they had a real trouble. Their professor was teaching them superiority, having some superiority over lesser people whom they considered lesser bright, lesser intelligent, less privileged, and so on like that. So it became an infamous rope. But in this, and by the way, it's a great drama. It's beautiful. You learn so much about it theatrically. But the rope at the Rath Yatra time, which we all missed so much this year, is a rope of love that brings us closer to Krishna, because we are pushing him by devotee power, not horsepower. No, even a car these days, they say you have this much horsepower in your truck or your car and something like that. But this is bhakti power that moves God. God is moved by bhakti power. And he says, I can only be understood through bhakti. Just give it to me. Krishna says so. Patram pushpam palam tuyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti paritam ashnani prayatat manaha. When we offer small things like holy flower, fruit, or water, we do it with devotion, and Krishna becomes very, very pleased, very satisfied. But bhakti is the main ingredient, and that is hard to define in the English language, but to make it simple, it's love, unalloyed love. It's non-conditional love. It's I'm just doing it because I love to please. I love to please Krishna. That's what bhakti is. And another way to understand bhakti means to simply cooperate with Krishna. I mean, one day he might ask you to come and steal with me. Come, we're going to have some mutton at the neighbor's house. Let's have a good time together. And so we take that this play of naughtiness is not to be measured by mundane standards. It is it's another one of those charmer leelas, and it puts us into position where we get close to Krishna. And it's possible that we might become a classmate of Krishna and be one of his friends. And as George Harrison puts it in the intro of the Krishna book, it might sound silly, I'm paraphrasing, but you can actually play with God. So it is possible to do that. It might happen, but to get to that status, we have to go through some purification. And bhakti will do that. So we have to approach bhakti, devotion, in a genuine way, and don't take it cheaply. It's not like relationships in this world, which have a beginning and an end. It's a relationship that's long lasting. Once we establish it, you're good to go. Once it's established, Krishna remains loyal, and you remain loyal to Krishna. So that's what a solid relationship is at, where there's not going to be any, let's say, even thought of separation. No thought whatsoever. We hope that you like this translation of the Dhammadarastakam, where we hear about, look at certain imagery, earrings are dangling back and forth, and he's clearly established as someone who's controlled by his mother's love, which is bhakti. She shows the stick, but she does this out of love. She runs after him, and that's out of love. She binds him, and that's also out of love, by a rope. And he shows, because he's a good actor, Krishna just, he's shivering, oh my God, she's so big, and so fearsome, and oh, I don't think I can handle this. And he's crying, tears are coming down, and mascara is coming down, the kajal down, making him look kind of scary, like maybe Halloween or something. And in this way, Krishna is adored, for his naughtiness, and it's his way of getting closer to us, really. So we should respond when he's doing something that's of charm. Then we should respond to that and get in on the pastime with him, because it's fun, and everybody likes fun in the spiritual world. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us joy, the joy of executing devotional service through singing and dancing. A point that's made by Satyavrata Muni in this song too is that we are not interested in entering into Brahman. We are interested in staying with Krishna and his pastimes. Vaishnavas or devotees are not keen to simply merge and to simply be, to simply exist. No, they're interested in Krishna's identity as a person. Hence the title of our book, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so God has personality. I think some people who honor multiple gods, they kind of get it. They understand, okay, God can be understood through different personalities, because there's different sides to the Supreme. And so just to be on the safe side, I'll worship this God, that God, this God. So I'll get benedictions from all. But all that is required really is to offer your reverences to the Supreme Personality of God, of the Deva. This comes very clear in the pages of Bhagavad Gita, where we are seeing that Krishna is unique as a person. And Kavim Puranam Anashashvataram. He says in the last shloka, 10th chapter, that Krishna is a person. He's a sentient being, he has feelings and emotions. There's descriptions given in the song about his color, his hue, and he was asked by Jadharani, one of Prabhupada, by one of his female disciples who was an artist. But I understand that Krishna is like a blue cloud, like a fresh rain cloud. So what color is that? And she assumed it was some kind of blue. It was, no, it's not like that. I guess he felt more. He said, well, he put his head down. It was just simply. So I don't, he basically was distancing himself from the question. He says he was admitting, I don't know exactly what. So she was trying to paint. She heard that Krishna has eyes that are red like certain lotuses, and that Krishna has this color like a fresh rain cloud. And I guess maybe it was left. I mean, sometimes I see skies where I feel that color is the color of Krishna, because it's grayish. That's what Prabhupada seemed to indicate, some kind of grayish tone. And when the gray comes to a blue tint, it is so beautiful. It is so gorgeous. Yep. So Krishna means the one who's all attractive, and from head to toe, there's something great about him, whether he's a baby or a full-grown man. He has all the features of attraction. We need to remember that. I mean, who wants an ugly God, right? So there's no dispute. There's nothing you can do to make God ugly. Krishna will never turn sour on us. He'll always have that beauty. So when you see some of these beautiful, gorgeous pictures that people do now, renderings of Krishna as a child, you want to hug him. He's so amiable, personality. And so sometimes we see people that they have children, young parents, they have children, and it's great when you see them. Of course, sometimes they scream loud while somebody's giving a talk. Apart from that, they're just objects of affection. And they remind us of Krishna, at least they do for me when I see them. You don't get running around in circles and, and maybe being quite happy. Said, wow, childhood is a great thing. But childhood is a building block. We all were children before, right? Did anybody skip their childhood or their adolescenthood? I know they're trying to do that. They're trying to for you not to be a child. You can look at adult stuff, you were very young, and kill your innocence as a child very early in life. I think that's one feature that's demonic in this world. Family is not emphasized, and even if there is a family, young parents don't know very much what's good for their children. I would say that right off the bat. Good, so I'm just going to take a look and see how we're doing time-wise, and I think that I'll kind of wrap it up, and then we'll leave some period for your questions, if that's okay with you all. Yeah, so in this translation, rope is mentioned, and Krishna's belly is mentioned. His hair, cheeks red like bamboo fruit. Let's see each other. People are diving to the deep ocean to just get a piece of the action. There's features of Krishna in this song where he's frightened, and how can God be frightened? He has all the features of protection. But Krishna wants to go through all the emotions. It seems like he wants to explore them all. I mean, he knows them all. He knows they're there, but he likes to go through it so that we can respond. We get a chance to respond. So our interaction should be like that, with Krishna and not without Krishna. With him and not without. Hare Krishna. Does anybody have any questions or comments they want to bring up?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Ilya, yes.
Hare Krishna. My question is, so you said that in the beginning of Krishna consciousness, we are excited about all the activities in Krishna consciousness, and we have taste in so many activities. But with time, sometimes some of the activities, they become like a routine. And also you mentioned that we have to have this freshness in our sadhana. So maybe a couple of practical points how to keep that freshness.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think one way to go is to try to communicate with the Lord and say, I'm approaching you now through your name, and please allow me to be attentive. One thing that does help is when you start your sadhana in the morning, take a shower, of course, put on some clothes that make you feel devotional. You could do a little pranayama before you start, because that always that good air will allow you to chant better and to think better of Krishna. And so some of the external things that you do have impact. The kind of food you eat, and try not to eat things that make you too sluggish and disinterested. But eat food that's going to keep you, let's say, quite light and lively. So those are kind of like some techniques that I would offer. It's about what you eat. It's about the good rest that you've had. It's at night, having a good sleep, and also being quite clean. And then Krishna doesn't mind being around you. And it's those types of things that you can do. More from a mechanical or a physical side, it can make a difference in helping you to retain Krishna in a fresh fashion. Yeah, so I think that, and I found too that You know, you try to do things that put you in a good mood, like serve others. Doesn't always have to be a devotee. Devotees aren't everywhere, but serve others. And once you get into that mood of doing for others, like that fellow I met in Dallas, then you just feel very cleansed and very optimistic about the world. You know, you made somebody happy by on the strength of your service. So I think it comes from serving others. You have to couple it with that. Like, say, for instance, today I had a chance to clean one of the floors. And I felt I'm not going to sit by a chair all day long and be at the phone. I need to do some physical stuff. So I was happy to get the mop going and get the water together and do sweeping and mopping in a fairly large room at the temple here in Toronto. And I was just happy to do it. I thought I feel so good now. I'm glad I took the choice to volunteer. But when you volunteer, it does make a difference to, you know, it is explained in the Krishna book, the guru comes around and rings a bell to get everyone up. Okay, so that's okay. But if you don't need a bell and spontaneously you get up and going, then you know that you're appreciating the freshness of Krishna consciousness. Yeah. So I'd be in good company. I would, you know, just to prepare, just like if you're going to paint a wall, you prepare it first, right? You put plaster on there, you know, sand it down, and you make a big mess, and everybody hates you for it. But the end result is kind of nice. And there because you prepared yourself, and those require some kind of external conditions, but you cannot deny the fact that the external brings us to the point of the spiritual. Hare Krishna. Thanks.
Thank you. Very
Hope
practical.
that helped.
Yes, yes.
And you know, I would say, Ilya, you know, prayer, you know, ask Krishna really to help you through this and these blockages. You know, he responds. He generally does. And, you know, especially we go and we take diksha or something. We come. You develop a surrendered spirit, and you surrender to Krishna. You know, he does reciprocate when you communicate with him. He is a person after all. I hear you. Krishna is saying, I hear what you say. I'll help you. Don't worry. Stop playing God. You know, I'll help you. Yeah.
Thank you. Very practical.
Yeah, we're trying to be. Anything else from anybody over there?
Thank you very much, Hare Krishna Maharaj. This is the question. Hare Krishna. This is the question I was also going to ask. So Aliya Prabhu asked for me as well. So thank you very much. I am satisfied. Hare Krishna.
Oh, good. Yeah. Rupa Goswami explains, do those things which are favorable for executing devotional service and reject the things that you see are taking you away from Krishna. Reject them. Whatever is bringing you close, embrace them, move forward with them. But those things that put you far apart, we don't need that. I'm, you know, Gauri-Nita, I'm seeing them before me. It's been a long time. Jai Shri Gauri-Nita ki jai. Yeah, so I see Hare Krishna Mani. I think that the spelling is wrong. Money. I don't think so. That's not the right spelling. But anyways, we'll let Prabhu.
That's the right spelling. Even
Is it?
when I was in Dubai, along with Jayapataka Swami, I got this name.
Is that right? Okay,
That's
well.
right. Long time ago.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. I'll tell people I know. I know someone who's got God's name, and they also simultaneously have money in it. So, oh, really? Wow. Good. So, any more thoughts? That translation, by the way, was done by our godbrother, Kalaganta in Gainesville. Lakshmamani knows him quite well.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
So I think my question goes a little bit along Ilya's Prabhu questions. And once I read in Nectar of Devotion that Krishna cannot manifest himself in a heart filled with pain or anger. And so how can one cultivate the proper attitude to receive Krishna's presence or manifestations?
Well, Rupa Goswami also explains that. It is through eagerness, a willingness to have him as part of our life. It's basically an enthusiasm, that's all. And enthusiasm is, how would you describe it? Can anybody define it? It's an incredible willingness to be where you are not now. Right now, we're in a certain state of consciousness, and some of us hanker for a better state. So we get enthusiastic about that. Enthusiasm is often triggered by inspiration. People inspire you with their acts of devotion and say, hey, that's such a different way of doing things, such a different way of thinking. So I want to be there. I want to do that. So it is, to get to the point of being Krishna conscious, it simply requires some enthusiasm. That's the price you pay. Laulyam api mulyam. That strong desire. And when we are sincere in our approach, and we project our desire, our enthusiasm for being with Krishna, surely he will reciprocate with us. But it requires that we have some mediation, or mediators, I guess you would say, medium people who are there to pull you towards Krishna. So always go for that, the best company you can get, the most optimistic kind of person you can find. Yeah, when devotees are enthusiastic, it's contagious. It's contagious that we all would like to be in that kind of situation. Does that help?
Yes, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
No problem. So I would just like to say, I hope you all have a good time with the marathon that's coming up. And some of you are our leaders. We're having our ISKCON Canadian Leaders Retreat virtually this year. And we'll have different speakers. The topics are hot topics. They're good, very relevant, and it'll help you with your services to Prabhupada. There's also a men's retreat. Of course, women Vaishnavis have their retreat. We're having what's called a men's retreat. And you can register for that. And it should be the third weekend. I should have it on by heart. Yeah, men's retreat. It's on the 21st and 22nd. That program is designed to help men become a bit more responsible, now that they are now, but to pump it up, and also to take up their role as the husband, father, whatever, more seriously, and how to do it in a devotional fashion at the same time. Because what good is sort of mundane, following the mundane social structure, but you don't have any spiritual scope. So we need both, we need matter and we need spirit. Be married together, and you'll have a happy arrangement. Anything else then? It is 6:30. I'd like to thank Guru Prasad Prabhu and Ilya for setting this up. and all of you wonderful devotees for being on board today. Hare Krishna Mani, and we got Nicole Poirier, I think, Ilya, of course, Zoya, I hope I said Zoya's name right, and Natalia from Montreal, and Surindra, who was always surrendering. And who else do we have here? We have Sadhana Agarwal, I hope I said it right. And we have Smarat Akori. Then we have Leela Mohini, right? And we have Sri Krishna Gupta. If I say your name, you can say Haribol. I have Mandala Ram.
Haribol.
Oh, good, good. Sign of life. We have Adi Sham.
Haribol. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj.
Jai Haribol. Thank you very much. Okay, we will sign off now.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I want to thank you for kindly accepting the invitation. I gave you very short notice, in fact, but you made it really appreciate your enthusiasm. A good example for us. Thank you.
Jai Hari Hari Bol, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Haribol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.